Hey there, I wanted to introduce people to Watcher of Realms, a new tower defense gacha game I've been playing recently that's currently in soft launch, which is available, I believe, in the UK, Canada, Russia and Indonesia. We don't know when the global release is. It's been in a kind of soft launchy state for over a year at the moment. I've joined in the last week or two. So what is the game? If you've played games like it or in the genre gacha, it's pretty much Raid meets Arknights. That's the best way I can describe it, I think. The graphics are really nice. The unit designs are really cool. Yeah, I mean, just look at these guys. So much detail. The gameplay it's actually pretty good. I'm quite enjoying it so far. I'll get into more in this video, starting as a beginner, the basics, what to look out for, some tips and tricks, heroes to focus on, and some general help to get you started. There will be timestamps along the bottom, so just skip to whatever interests you. And the game is being updated quite a bit still, and is still in soft launch, so I'll revisit this guide in future, likely on global launch. We'll start with an overview. What is it? Well, it's a gacha with tower defense elements, as you can see in the background clip here. You collect heroes via a summoning RNG system, you build the heroes up to make them stronger, and you use them to complete campaigns and raids. The gacha elements are all pretty standard and in line with other gachas such as Raid Shadow Legends, Summoner's War, Epic 7, etc. They're pretty standard conventions. The combat, however, is much more like Arknights. In most battles, enemies will move along paths towards your base. Your goal is to kill them before they reach it. You can place heroes either on the path to block them and fight them directly, or on elevated walls to attack and heal from distance and hopefully stay out of harm's way. Placement options are determined by the levels themselves, so you can't just dump your characters anywhere you want. Starting out, you're going to focus on the chapters in the campaign. Clearing chapter 1 will unlock summoning, as well as a few other characters. The main thing to note with the campaign is that each mission has a free potential different stars to be rewarded. The first 2 you get by completing the mission, and the third one you get if no enemies get through. This is useful because there's a progress rewards bar at the top, and the milestones are pretty good. Stamina, you need to run missions. Gold, you need to buy stuff and upgrade. Psychic power is a used material as fodder to awaken units to a higher star, and diamonds are used for summoning as well as if you want to buy other stuff. The heroes you have at this point are Flashlord is a good DPS, so is Marina, Camille will be your healer, and Rex will be your tank. Most of these units you will replace over time as you get epics and legendaries, but for now these are the 4 you want to focus on promoting and upgrading. Cutter you can mostly leave as a 2-star unit, so it's not worth investing too much into him. When you go to summon, there's a few things to note. Most people summon at the weekends because there are 2 main events that happen on alternating weekends. The first is the one in this as time of recording, which is a 10 times higher chance of getting one of these 3 units if you were going to get a unit of the same rarity. So for example, Twin Fiend, which is a really cool character I think, and I'd love to get him. If you get a legendary this weekend while this event is active, you are 10 times more likely to get him than any other legendary in the game. And likewise, if you're going to get an epic while summoning here, you're 10 times more likely to get Scorch or Anvita. So this does not increase your chance of getting a legendary or an epic. Just if you already do get one, the chances of it being one of those 3 units is a lot higher. The other weekend event, which should happen next weekend if it's still following, is 2 times up. So that will increase the chance of getting a legendary from 0.5% to 1%, which is quite a nice notch. If you're a free-to-play player, it is better for you to wait for the 2 times weekend, so you've got 1% chance of getting a 5-star. If you're spending a bit of money or if you're impatient, then good luck to you and do it however you like. I'm also impatient, so I just summon usually, but I'm trying to get better. Let's go for a Hail Mary and see if we can get anything interesting on this newbie account I've made. So, okay, actually got a purple. Lixis, not a bad unit. She's, you can see from the arrow icon in the top left next to her name, she is a marksman, which means she does bonus damage to airborne units, which is a very important character to have. Something to note as well is underneath her stars, you can see she's 4-star, which is an epic. There's the Watcher and the Piercer. That means she belongs to these 2 factions. I'll explain a bit more about that later, but very simply, characters with a crown on their icon means they're a lord. And they're a lord over a certain faction, and they confer benefits to other heroes in the same faction. So if you have a Piercer Lord or a Watcher Lord, Lixis will gain benefits from being in their group. One other thing to show, which I think is worth knowing, when you summon a 4 or 5 star unit, sometimes you get this little share icon button pop up. But what you can do is if you hit share, if you have an account downloaded, I'm playing on BlueStacks, but this works on my phone as well when I play there. You can just hit share and go, but because it has to open the other app, it won't actually force you to do anything. So I'm not even signed in on Instagram, but it will still give me the reward. So I've got 50 diamonds. I didn't actually share, but you know, it's well worth it. 50 diamonds is quite generous for a gacha like this. So hopefully you get a epic character as well, and when you do, make sure that you promote them as soon as you can and throw some levels in them with the upgrade tool. For now, that's mostly what you're going to be able to do in the early game. Eventually you'll unlock equipment raids where you can get some gear, but I haven't got that yet, being only just in chapter 2 on this account. So I'm going to jump back to my main account and we'll explain a bit more about character progression and what you'll be focusing on next. Okay, I'm back on my main account. As you can see, there's a lot more buttons available on the screen. We're going to go back to the Heroes tab and I'm going to explain a bit more about some of the units that you might want to focus on if you get them, or unit types that are important to get hold of. If you click on this little icon next to a hero, you open up this menu and you can see there are 6. Fighter, Defender, Marksman, Healer, Ranger and Mage. Rangers are pretty much worth ignoring since they're only 2 and 1 star and they all share the same cost gimmick, which I think could be very fun in future, but for now we'll ignore it. Fighters do more damage than defenders by quite a bit, and defenders are more tanky by quite a bit. Aside from that and their individual hero abilities, fighters have 2 block and defenders have 3 block, which means if 3 enemies try to attack a fighter, the third will just slip past. Whereas with a defender, they will be fully blocked and fight to the death until a 4th comes along, which will then slip past that defender. Marksmen do bonus damage against airborne enemies, and airborne enemies have their own pathing around the map. They don't follow lanes and they are not targeted by fighters or defenders. Healers come in 3 types. You can have a single target healer like Camille, you can have an AoE healer like Elowen, and you can have supporting healers. Typically fall into one of the 2 first groups, but the main difference is their heal is usually just focused around providing buffs or debuffs. Mages do bonus damage to groups of enemies, so I think it's like a critter type of enemy that you'll notice they do bonus damage to, but their mages typically do lots of AoE damage. So that's a quick overview of the different class types. Of the units I've pulled so far, some of the most useful, obviously Elowen has been great. She's a legendary 5-star healer, the only legendary healer currently in the game, and she focuses as an AoE healer. So if you get her, absolutely focus on her because healers are always going to be needed. Salazar, who I got recently, another legendary, he's a fighter type. He has self-sustain based on crit, so pump crit chance into him if you get him. And he just does amazing single target damage as well as an AoE on his active. Zealous I have, who I do like, he looks super cool, but his cost is really high, so it's quite difficult to get him out early in the missions, which is usually the difficult part. Trying to get your first 3 units out safely and kind of block all the holes that are where the enemies are coming from is quite tricky. And when you have a unit costing twice what other units cost, it's quite hard to justify using them as often. But units like this with a high cost are very good in some of the other content, such as the guild bosses and in the Tide events, because the cost doesn't really come into play. You can just place your units at the start, and units like this are great for that. Of the epics I have, the ones that stood out to me personally, Gluttony I've enjoyed because I never pulled a defender. So Gluttony is a fighter type, but he has pretty good self-sustain. Scorch is a fighter again. He's great because his attack is 2 in a line, so he hits the 2 tiles in front of him. Something I've noticed with this unit, and I did test it with other units, it did not apply to... what's this gent's name? It did not apply to Ein, but it does apply to Scorch. If Scorch is defending one way, when he breathes fire and hits the 2 tiles in front, if someone hits him from the side, he will also hit them. So he has the ability to hit basically everyone around him and the place he's facing, should enemies be attacking him on those adjacent sides. I think it's because they technically enter his tile. So this will happen for other fighters with more range, but I just noticed it a lot with Scorch. So I've had a lot of joy using him. The Shark King is someone I really like as well. He's a marksman type, so great at sniping airborne units. The main thing about him is his projectile has a decent range to it. and does splash damage, so it's like AoE burst damage, which is great at taking out little small flying clusters. His rage ultimate skill is just a big water shark, looks really cool, does crap loads of damage, is really good for clutch moments when you need to annihilate a wave, so he's a really good unit if you pull him. Lisa is probably one of the most recommended units I've seen people talking about. She is a marksman as well, a sharpshooter, and what makes her so good is she has a lot of AoE capabilities, so you can put her down to help deal with airborne units, but then when there are a cluster of enemies surrounding your fighter and your defender or whatever getting to the end, if you use her ultimate rage skill, she shoots, I believe it's 6 waves of arrows up to 5 enemies. She shoots up to 5 enemies in the range 6 times. And it's a lot. To be able to just spray down the whole zone in front of you is a really good ability to have, and it's quite easy to get it available. Her rage requirement for it isn't super high. Sitnalta is a unit you'll get from your 3-day logging. She is a control focus mage. She is good at slowing and freezing. She doesn't do a great deal of damage, but she's very good for kind of stemming the flow of enemies down enough for you to place your units and get your cost up to get your defenses in order. Midan is another AoE healer, kind of like a Eloin Light, so I use her when it's like a crazy level and you need to have a bunch of healing in a bunch of different places. Light Lock is a fusion unit, so you can fuse this guy. He is a single target burst healer. I haven't really invested in him enough to say how great he is, but he fires out 2 heals in rotations that are both single target, and one of them does AoE damage around it, which is quite nice to have. Tazira is a fairly good unit as well, another marksman, great at dealing with airborne units. Her focus is on rapid attacking, so whenever she shoots 7 times, she deals an additional 2 strikes. Her passive means that when there are a group of enemies in range, she gets more attack speed, and 10 per unit up to a max of 70 for every enemy within her attack range. It's not bad, especially if you look at the details and you can see that the attack speed, which is consistent across all units I've seen so far, is 100. Gaining 10% attack speed per unit is not bad, up to a cap of 70%. It's quite good. Pairing that with her default attack, which shoots additional strikes when she reaches 7 strikes, which will be reduced if you upgrade her skills. A very good unit for focusing down enemies, especially when you're in a cluster. There's one last thing I want to touch on, which is kind of an overlap between summoning and your heroes, which is you should be keeping one of each rare hero and above that you pull. Above is for obvious reasons. If it's epic or legendary, they could be very useful in future. You never know when you might need them for certain content. The other is with the rares, there are fusion units in the game. So if I just go to summoning quick and hero fusion, you can see Aswan, Lightlock, Livania. These are all fusion units. I'm currently saving to try to create Livania. I've already fused Lightlock. So you want to make sure that you have units for that, but bearing in mind there might be new fusion heroes in future. The second reason is normally you would, in gachas, you would use dupes to fodder to level up other units to higher star, right? But in this, it's actually quite generous. If you want to scrap a unit with, let me just go back and show you that again. With this little button here, it will open up this UI. And if you select a unit, you can sell it for a value. So a 1-star will give you 550 gold. A 2-star will give you 800 gold, but a 3-star will actually give you 30 diamonds. So this is what you will do with all of your duplicate rares, the 3-star rares, is sell them for diamonds. You can also do this with higher tier. So for example, this dupe I have of a epic, and this will net me epic awakening tokens, which can be used in this store, which I'll explain a bit more in detail, but there's an awakening shop here, and that's the currency that you get. So there's actually a value to doing that, and it's not really recommended to fodder 3 stars and 4 stars when you can get better currency for it. Alright, well, we'll continue with some quickfire tips and tricks. The first one is mainly just general advice. When you start playing the game, once you're out of the tutorial and you have a bit more free roam to do what you like, you should have a storyline down here. Follow this as much as you can. because at the end you get this pretty amazing legendary Volker, which I have still not got. I've been playing for about 8 days as of the start of the recording of this video, but I'm pretty far along. I'm 13 chapters out of 18 towards getting her. But the main reason I would say start it immediately is because sometimes the objectives aren't backdated. So for example, this one I need to get Sacred Bones, which is from a specific raid, dungeon content. If I have already done a bunch of these before, but this is a new one, so I need to get them again. But if you spend your time progressing all the way through the campaign chapters and then doing a bunch of arena, joining a guild, doing guild bosses, etc., and then only later you start progressing your storyline, then you'll have to wait for the daily reset potentially. If you're stuck on, doing arenas or doing the guild boss or a certain type of locked daily thing like Tide, you might have to wait until the next day to continue it. So it's best to try to make sure that you're up to date on your storyline quest whenever possible. So just make sure that you're always up to date on that. Another tip is, when you're doing campaign, if you ever get stuck, I've got stuck many times, it's actually quite challenging, which is quite fun. What you can do when you go to fight, there's an assist unit button here, and this will let you borrow units from friends as well as system support, which is like a recommended one. You can refresh 99 times, all for free. You can just keep hitting that button until you find something that works, and you can compare stats to see who's got the best one. This doesn't really have any negatives. The only drawback of doing this is that if you complete a mission using an assist unit, you cannot then auto-fight that mission. The way you normally unlock an auto-fight is by getting a 3-star clearance like this. Now I have the auto-fight button available. But if you've used someone else's unit to help you get that clearance, you can't auto-fight it because you can't reliably automatically use their unit. So yeah, basically just use that system a lot. It really helps. Your pool luck is not always going to fall the way you want. You might not have a really good healer, a really good fighter or marksman, or maybe you just need an extra one, or you need someone with a bit more padded stats to help you get over that line. So use the assist unit as much as you can when you're progressing through these. Alright, I'm going to try and finish things up, so we'll go over the shop, we'll go over events and raids a bit, and then we'll wrap it up. So shop, black market, guild shop, arena merchants, and awakening shop. The black market is your general store, which is randomized loot. The stuff that can appear in here, the top row is always 1 and 2 star units. I've been tallying them up and it's pretty much 50-50, 1 star and 2 star. Buy them every time you see them, pretty much. If you're feeling really low on gold or you have literally just started, feel free to skip it for a day or two if you want. The reason for this is because you'll be foddering these guys into each other. I'll show you really quickly. In the hero screen, if you go to star up a unit, there's a little button here, quick star up, and this is really nice. I haven't got many pots, but I have enough to show you. These are the XP potions you can get from an XP raid. I can hit max level, instantly done, 500 gold, 500 gold. I now have 2 stars coming from 4 1 stars. I don't have enough potions to show you, but basically you can ladder your way up to create 4 stars via this method. So it's really quick and easy to level fodder in this game. You don't have to have a farming unit take a bunch of 1-star oozes or whatever into a run. You just farm the XP potions as fast as you can in the XP raid, and then you use that to fodder and level up fodder from the store. And you can actually make a 5-star every single day just from the ones you buy from this store, because you can get, normally you can refresh the store, I believe 12 times manually before it becomes crystal cost. It starts free refills, free 500 coins, free 1000 coins, and then free 2000 coins, which is well worth doing when you're in the millions in gold, which is quite quick. Aside from the top row being fodder, the rest of the store will be split between insignias, equipment, summoning crystals, stamina potions, and extracts. So the insignias, when you've got cash, you can buy these. Don't buy them with crystals, it's a waste. Always buy the yellow quality ones, the legendary quality ones, because otherwise you will spend a load of energy farming them, stamina farming them. It's better to spend a bit of gold rather than spending all your energy farming that. I sometimes buy some of the lower quality ones, the rare and the epic ones, again just to save some stamina in the future. As for the equipment, when you're early, getting purple items can be useful. You have to click into it. Click the first one, then click here to see the stats. Typically, weapons and armor always have a flat main stat. So the main stat for this is HP, and the main stat for this will be attack. Subs, you want them to be percentage based, and if it's any other item for your character, such as if I go to my heroes and gear, you can see these 3 slots here. You typically want these to be percentage based, so I'm stacking healing effect on my healer. When you start, your shop will be half locked. The bottom row and these 2 on the right will be locked. It will cost you 500 gold or 1,000 gold and then 30 crystals or diamonds, and it will kind of alternate gold, diamonds. It's worth fully unlocking the store when you're able to, because sometimes you can buy rare summoning crystals at a discount for 70 diamonds instead of 88 diamonds, which is what it would cost you if you were to do it via the summoning screen. So on top of that, you can also get myth extracts, which are used to advance characters to the highest levels. So it's well worth to max out your shop. It's not that expensive. Maybe hang around and don't upgrade the last one, because the last slot costs 200 crystals. You can hang about until there's something valuable in there that you want. But generally, yeah, max this shop out quick. Buy all of the fodder at the top. Guild shop, you get this from participating in a guild. Join a guild as soon as you can. You can leave one and rejoin another one in an hour if you don't like the guild that you're in. But if you've used up your dragon raids for the day, which is 2 a day, you'll lose out on the rewards if you leave the guild before collecting rewards the next day. But just join a guild quickly, do the dungeon, the dragon, and buy what you can. The psychic power is great, and the radiant meteorite is great. If you want to buy the gold bonus, that's really good if you save up a bunch of stamina and then you can blast away in a gold dungeon, but I wouldn't recommend that until you're a bit further in the game. At the point I'm at, I haven't needed to do that, so you won't either if you're new. The arena merchant is doing arena as much as you can and then buying up whatever you think is valuable to you. I obviously buy summoning stuff because I like shiny summons. Epic skill crystal is valuable. Epic skill dust is valuable. The artifact essences are good as well. Just buy a bunch of stuff. Make sure you farm as much as you can. The awakening shop, this is the shop regarding if you were to scrap or sell or salvage or whatever they call it, your 3-star and 4-star plus dupes, your rare and epic dupes. You can use these for a soul stone. These aid in awakening and promotion of rare heroes or epic heroes or legendary heroes. So typically this will give you, if I quickly pop over to a epic character, there are these awakening things which are actually really powerful. So if you get a dupe of a character, you can feed it into themselves in the awakening tab to power them up. And for epic and legendary creatures, this is quite strong. They are tailored to their abilities usually, whereas rare characters, it's just flat stats, which again, it's decent, but you get a lot of power out of it as an epic character. This is increasing her chance of firing extra icicles by 15%, which is quite big. Gluttony has a doubling effect on his passive, which is a very strong passive, so these are quite good. But basically those soul stones you can buy from the shop, from the arena merchant, the awakening shop. This epic one will allow you to just advance of your choice, which is very nice. The same for these as well, but I'm not quite sure how you're going to get hold of those. I don't know too much. I can't imagine many people are going to be scrapping legendaries. Okay, lastly, let's talk a little bit about raids. This is where a lot of your long-term progression is going to be. There are 6 types of raid, as you can see. You'll unlock these gradually over time. You don't start with them all. You'll first get promotion raid, then resource raids. Promotion raids, very quickly, there's 4. They are for the different types of heroes, although endurance includes both the defender and the healer. You do these so that you can gain these little things, the insignias of marksman or of defender or endurance or whatever it is, and you use those to promote your heroes to turn their gold star purple, which gives them a nice stat bonus and also unlocks their first ability. So promotion rates are very important. You want to make sure that although you can progress these by using a assist unit, if you do that you won't unlock auto. You're probably going to spend most of your auto chances a day on autoing raids. So raids you want to be able to complete by yourself. You do get a first time completion bonus, so getting an assist to help you get those can be very valuable, so definitely consider doing that. Resource raids, these are the ones that you're probably going to want to just farm. There's only 7 of the XP raid, so it's quite easy to get through it. you can just auto farm these quite easily. When you unlock them, you won't really need an assist. Guild boss is twice a day. This is when you join a guild, you can try and progress through. Unfortunately, my guild completely ate up the hard and nightmare 1, and I am far too weak to go higher than that at the moment. So I had to step down and fight easy and common. You get rewards based on the blood damage you deal. Blood is given based on the damage that you do to the boss during the fight. The fight lasts, it's around 4 minutes. And at the end, the boss leaves. During the boss fight, you need to break his shield. When the event pops up, a big blue wall ripples across. Blast all of your ultimates during that phase to break the shield. And he does it 3 times, and then the last minute he doesn't do it again, so just use all your skills off cooldown. That's the guild boss. Try and work your way up if you can. The gear raid is a very important one. There are 3 different types of gear raids that have different set drops for them. These are pretty tricky, and they cater towards different party types. So the first raid, gear raid 1, is better for AoE type units. As you can see, the recommended has a lot of mages and heavy damage units. I believe this is the one where there is a wall you need to defend. The second gear raid is quite a tricky one. You need to really stand fast. There's a lot of damage coming in, and you need to have a very strong front line, which is why they recommended a tanks and a healer. I struggled quite a bit on this until I got a Salazar pull. Gear raid 3, pretty simply, is a aerial battle, so you need a bunch of very strong marksmen so that you can snipe all of the airborne units. This means that your fighters as well as your defenders are basically useless on this level. You will just need ranged units so that you can deal damage to the big flood of flying enemies coming your way. The remaining 2 raids to talk about. The Artifact Fragment raid. This is for a progression system you'll get a fair bit later in the game. Farming them will give you meteorites, either radiant or flawless, or the first tier being broken. You can use these in the hero menu. If you go to the bottom artifact, which takes a while to unlock again, replace, forge, you can then craft these artifacts for your characters. As you can see, I've got a bunch unused ones on the left. The way these work are you can socket them on a character, you can remove them and move them around at will. There are 3 different rarities, epic, legendary and mythic. It also increases my base stats. You can level these up as well by using the mithril resource, which you can buy from the arena store. So that's quite a lot of value in the artifact fragment raid to farming those out. And the last one is the offering material raid in order to get sacred bones, which is one of the last things you'll unlock, which can be used in the Pantheon, where you will upgrade Dimitri, who is a nice little lizard. Upgrading him will give you one of 2 stats. You can choose which ones you want to upgrade. General HP bonus or general rage regen efficiency. So the final thing to talk about is where to spend your stamina. First and foremost, you should be progressing the campaign as much as you can. I'm stuck on the final level of the final chapter at the moment. This is really hard. Have fun when you get here. So I have started progressing the hard mode instead, and I'm on chapter 6. Outside of just progressing your campaign, you will be spending your stamina on raids. Make sure you do your guild boss and your offering material raids daily, because they're limited. Do your tide daily, which is another event. And excess stamina outside of campaign progression and the daily resets should be spent on based on the events. So the event will show you different things ongoing. For example, there's Brave Conquest. This one, it requires me to do gear raids and artifact fragment raids. If you see events like this that require you to do specific content, if you are very early in the game, just ignore them. You will not be able to keep up or get far enough to get a good reward. This may change in future, so if you want to check if that's the case for you, hit the exclamation point at the top and it will tell you the points you get. If you are farming gear raids and you are only getting rare drops and that's only 3 points, then 100 raid points plus 105 points just so you can get a small potion, it's not a very good trade. But if you're further in and you're getting legendary, that's 15, then that's quite a lot faster. That's 5 times faster. You're looking at around 20 runs, so you can actually progress through this reasonably. The other thing that was good when you're early is the Oracle's Trial. You will always start with 1 for beginners, which is campaign progression as well, so just progressing the campaign will compete in that. The way these work is they're competitions against other similarly positioned players. There are participation rewards, which are very good, so always focus on getting at least these. If you think you can poll in the top 3, absolutely try, because you can see the rewards are very good. 5 summoning crystals are very nice, as well as shards to summon someone else. So focus on the events, and if you're unsure about what events are coming up, or if you want to save your stamina for upcoming events, the best way to find out is by hitting the events button over here and then having a look at the event calendar. And I can see there's a bunch of stuff coming to an end soon, and from Monday there'll be a Tales of the Smith event, which is a crafting upgrade event. So maybe if I'm farming for the weekend event where I'm getting loads of new gear drops, I should not upgrade them until Monday, because then I can upgrade them all on Monday and get some participation in that event. So check the events and maybe plan how you spend your stamina based on what events are coming up. But again, focus on the campaign first. And that about wraps up the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, any other tips for new players, any questions, anything about the game at all, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll get back to you. I'm planning to do a few more clips in future, probably going over some more specific things and maybe talking about my particular game stage rather than just overall guides. So hopefully that'll be interesting, and let me know what you think. Thanks so much. Have a good night.